Welcome to a deep dive that really goes way beyond just the numbers on a scale. Today, we're unpacking an approach to weight loss that genuinely flips the script on, well, pretty much everything you thought you knew about hunger, willpower, and making changes that actually stick.
Yeah, and our focus for this deep dive is the unique perspective of Dan Hollis, particularly his insights around semaglutide. His work really argues that this isn't just about the medication itself. It's a profoundly human journey, maybe even a catalyst for deeper self-discovery.
Absolutely. And we've got a really fascinating stack of material here from Dan Hollis's own manifesto, as he calls it, and also reflections on his teachings. So our mission today is to explore what happens when our biology shifts quite dramatically sometimes, and how that shift can maybe reveal deeper emotional truths about our relationship with food and, well, with ourselves. You might hear semaglutide and immediately think magic fix, right? But Dan Hollis insists on calling it a powerful tool.
Or a window.
Exactly, a window into something much more profound. We'll explore why he believes willpower was never really the core problem, and why, maybe surprisingly, the real work often begins after the medication kicks in, or even stops.
Yeah, what's truly compelling is how Dan Hollis immediately clarifies things. He acknowledges that semaglutide, brand names like Ozempic or Wegovy, is a GLP-1 receptor agonist, which basically means it mimics a natural gut hormone,
Yeah.
tells your brain you're full, you're satisfied, standard stuff. But he stresses that's just the starting point. It's step one.
Right.
He emphasizes that this change, this alteration in how your brain perceives hunger and satisfaction, even reward, can be incredibly liberating for people.
Liberating, yes, but also maybe a little terrifying for some.
Definitely could be
Because if food has been like your primary coping mechanism for years.
your go-to.
Yeah, exactly. That sudden biological quiet can leave you feeling quite exposed. And this brings us right to one of Dan's most powerful points, I think. Willpower was never the problem. He basically says, look, if you've relied on willpower, you've probably tried it countless times. And you likely found, just like he did apparently, that it just doesn't work for the long haul. It's exhausting.
It really is. It's not enough when you've got biology and emotion and these deeply ingrained habit loops all stacked against you.
Right. And what's fascinating about framing it that way is how it totally recontextualizes past failures. It
Yeah.
wasn't a moral failing.
Exactly. Which then begs the question, okay, if willpower isn't the solution, then what is? Dan Hollis suggests it's about cultivating genuine insight into your patterns, plus establishing clear structure, and crucially, using tools that truly meet your unique biology where it's at, not fighting it.
Okay.
He argues, look, people don't just eat because they're physically hungry. That's often not the main driver. They eat because they're anxious or lonely or bored, maybe overstimulated, or just feeling fundamentally unsupported in their lives.
So the semaglutide can quiet the physical hunger, creating this, like you said, profound silence. But it doesn't automatically fix those underlying emotional needs. That's a whole other layer.
Precisely. That's where what he calls emotional weight comes in. And that can be just as significant, sometimes more so, than the physical weight. Without real support for these emotional aspects, many people just find themselves relapsing into the old patterns eventually. Makes sense.
So his system then is designed to kind of guide you through that emotional recalibration for when food stops being the default fallback.
That's the idea. He talks about something he calls signal confusion.
Signal confusion.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is essentially learning to tell the difference between a genuine biological need for fuel
Hmm.
and a learned emotional response that feels like hunger, but actually isn't. It's something else asking for attention.
So you're observing the craving, maybe getting curious about it, not just automatically obeying it.
Exactly. You're creating a pause.
Interesting. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Dan Hollis really challenges the whole idea of just rapid weight loss being the ultimate goal.
Oh, definitely. He cautions that just losing weight fast without what he calls metabolic pacing can actually be a trap.
A trap. How so?
Well, if you lose weight too quickly, your metabolism can slow right down. You might lose muscle mass, which you really don't want, and the long-term outcomes can actually suffer because of it. It's not sustainable.
Right.
So his approach focuses intensely on that pacing, timing your nutrition, your habits, tracking progress in a way that's truly sustainable for your body. It's about building a new, stable baseline, not just chasing numbers down on the scale week after week.
And this feels so crucial because As he points out, and this really struck me, the real work begins after the medication.
That's a key message.
Because semaglutide isn't necessarily meant to be forever for everyone, right?
Not always, no.
So when people stop taking it, maybe without a clear plan, those old patterns, the returning appetite signals, the emotional triggers, they can reactivate with a vengeance.
Yeah, they come roaring back.
So that's why he starts talking about the after phase right from the very beginning, building habits that can actually endure far beyond the injections.
It's proactive preparation, not waiting for the crisis.
Yeah, he's essentially trying to provide the language, maybe the scaffolding, and even the sort of narrative memory for this critical transition phase, so you're ready.
It's smart. And another really compelling aspect of his work is this belief that emotional hunger sounds like a craving, but it's actually a question, a need asking to be seen.
Wow. That reframes it completely, doesn't it?
It really does. It shifts the whole conversation away from feeling like it's a moral failing or just a lack of discipline
Yeah.
and towards a deeper inquiry into our inner landscape, what's really going on. So he's not anti-medication at all. Rather, he sees its strength in giving you time.
Time.
Time to reflect, to reset, and crucially, to rewire some of those old pathways.
As he puts it so powerfully somewhere, semaglutide isn't the solution to emotional eating. It's the silence that lets you find one.
Exactly. That's silence.
That silence, yeah, as you said, it can be uncomfortable, certainly, but also incredibly clarifying, perhaps.
Potentially, yes, if you lean into it.
It's about what happens when that constant food noise finally goes quiet and the real questions start bubbling up. For so many people, food served as this kind of emotional scaffolding, right? A way to buffer difficult feelings. And when that's suddenly pulled away by the medication, yeah, you're going to feel exposed, vulnerable.
Which can even lead to what he sometimes calls identity grief.
Identity grief.
Yeah, like people genuinely don't know who they are without the physical weight they've carried or without food constantly filling those emotional gaps. It's a big shift.
Wow. He puts it so succinctly, too. People don't relapse into hunger, they relapse into confusion. That's a truly profound observation.
It really cuts to the core, doesn't it? And this is precisely where support becomes, well, non-negotiable in his view. Dan Hollis states it pretty unequivocally. Support isn't optional. It's neurobiological scaffolding.
Neurobiological scaffolding, I like that.
It implies structure, support during a vulnerable building phase. It's about building new rituals, maybe stitching them into old routines so they stick, and learning to treat hunger not as some kind of villain to be defeated, but just as a signal. A signal that something deeper needs naming, needs attention.
Right. And he emphasizes there's no shame here, only process.
Which must be so relieving for people to hear.
Absolutely. You aren't broken or lazy or undisciplined. You're simply working against some powerful biology and, let's face it, a culture that often profits from our confusion about food and weight. His job, as he seems to see it, is to help you reset both your body and your expectations of yourself gently.
And what really resonates, I think, is that this isn't about just handing down rigid rules or impossible prescriptions.
No.
It really sounds like it's framed as a conversation, a developing relationship with food, yes, but also with your body and with the people guiding you through it.
He offers like a map, a guide, and crucially a community. So if you feel like you've failed at this stuff before, he basically says you're not starting over from scratch. You're starting right. This time maybe, with tools that finally match how your body and brain actually work and with people who genuinely get it.
It's about alignment, finding what works for you, not forcing yourself into a system based on shame.
His ultimate message seems to be that this whole journey isn't just about losing weight, is it?
Not at all. That's almost secondary in some ways.
It's about reclaiming your true relationship. To food, sure, but also to your body and maybe most importantly to yourself.
So, yeah, as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, it's worth remembering what we've explored here. Semaglutide, as Dan Hollis emphasizes, it isn't some miracle pill that solves everything overnight, but it can be a miracle pause. That's a useful way to think about it.
A biological window of opportunity.
Exactly. A window.
Which really leads to an invitation for you, the listener, to maybe ask yourself, with that food noise potentially quieted, what are you truly hungry for now? What underlying needs or areas of your life are kind of asking for support or attention?
Yeah, and as Dan Hollis wisely reminds us, healing that emotional hunger, it takes empathy, not judgment. It takes awareness, not just more rigid rules.
Mhm.
And it takes curiosity, not punishment.
Yeah.
Being kind to yourself through the process.
This entire journey, then, ultimately, it really isn't about just eating less. That's too simplistic. It's about creating the space to live more fully. And maybe a powerful truth to take with you is this one he offers. When the cravings stop, the truth begins. Remember, weight loss can change your body, sure, but only understanding and maybe rewriting your story can truly change your future.